What's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. In today's video we're going to be taking this brass scrubber and we're going to try to make a knife out of it. So what I'm going to basically do is clean it up, make sure we get any kind of residues or anything that would inhibit it from being able to properly stick, and we're going to get rid of all that with a quick acetone wash. Now that our material has been washed, we're going to go on ahead and put it into our canister. Our canister has been painted and lined with some white spray paint to help ease it out. And we're going to go on ahead and put a little base of steel powder first, and then we're going to go on ahead and start filling it. Normally I would just shove them all in there and then start putting powder, but in this case I want to do something a little different. So I'm gonna pack it in, fill it up with powder, pack it in, fill it up with some more powder, and slowly walk it up that way, making sure I vibrate the can as much as possible. Here I'm gonna use my oscillating tool, and we're gonna use that to vibrate the whole can up and down, make sure that it's completely full of as much of the steel powder as we can, so we can try and avoid as many of the air gaps as possible. And once we got it all filled up, we're going to go on ahead and slap our cap on there and weld it on. Okay, so the whole trick to this is temperature control, and I'm using my oven to heat this up to make sure I don't go over, in this case, about 1700 degrees. Really, it could range from 1650 to like 1750, and going anything over that would definitely melt the brass in here, and I do not want to do that, so I'm working it slow and slow. But I crank it up after a couple of presses because I'm just not sure the steel powder in there is welding correctly. As you can see, a lot of it is crumbling up, and so I ramped it up to the heats I normally do with my copper versus my brass. And so this is the end result of that. It started cracking pretty badly, so I just called it there, and we'll crack it open and check it out later. Alright guys, so this is what I got. I don't know if it's going to be any viable material. The can was kind of like disintegrating, and I don't know, maybe this stuff is too toxic and it corrodes the steel or something. I don't know. I initially started forging it a little bit lower in heat, but then I kind of got worried because the melting temperature is somewhere around 1650 to like 1750 for brass, but then I wasn't sure if the steel powder was gonna fully weld, so I got it up a lot higher, which definitely don't recommend. And then I started working it there, and then it started cracking even more. So yeah, I don't know. We're just gonna cut it as best I can and try to peel it off and see if we have anything viable. I'm gonna sand my it if we don't, or go my it if we don't. Then it's just gonna be a dud, and I doubt I'll try again because the temperatures just don't mix. It's too low of a heat to be able to get everything to solidify correctly. Alright guys, so I put it in the acid for a little bit, and I can't really see much. It's grainy, has a bit of a yellow tint to it, but it's not really what I would call, the the same as the copper scrubber that I did. But regardless, we're gonna run it. We got very small pieces. These guys that we can use, I got it cleaned up. And they're rather small, fairly thickish, probably about 1/2 inch thick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this guy right here. This is 1 inch 52-100, and I'm gonna forge out a blank that I can put in there, a little 1 inch billet, 1 inch by 1/2 inch, probably maybe a little bit thicker, to be able to put in there to be able to use as our core steel. One, I really like 52-100. It makes some excellent steel. Even if the knife turns out kind of crappy looking, it'll still be very good looking. And we're going to be layering it with brass on the inside as well to be able to, you know, hold everything together. So regardless, we're still going to get a brass line, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get a pattern like the swirly pattern that we had with the copper. But it is still worth a try, whether it's a failure or not. It's still going to be a pretty cool knife, and it'll have a cool story behind it, whether it was successful or not. So one other thing, this guy is pretty crackish, so I don't know if we got enough brass in there or not. I don't know. Regardless, we're gonna run it, so I'm gonna go on ahead and forge this out, heat it up, and forge it out into a length we can put in there. So 52-100 is one of my preferred steels to work with. I really like the way it holds an edge, and I really like the way it is easy to sharpen. Unfortunately, I only got this round bar of it, and I haven't been able to find the thicker bars that I tend to use for my sand mines or anything like that. I always like to do that, but I switched over to 5160 because it was easier to find. I haven't been able to find like 1/4 inch stock, and if you know where I could get some of that, let me know in the comments down below, because I really do miss my 52-100. And for fully forging a knife, round bar works great, but whenever I'm doing sand mines, I kind of do like to have a stock material that I don't have to go through all the extra trouble of having to forge out before I can, you know, clean it up and use it. Overall, I ended up only working it up to 1650, which was enough to get it to stick. But unfortunately, it only stuck to the core steel, not the rest. The rest kind of just crumbled away. And this was the aftermath of what happened after a little bit of forging. Alright guys, so here is the aftermath of our little experiment. The brass did hold on pretty well onto the actual steel, but this stuff just cracked away. So it's kind of hard to really get this to work correctly, theoretically, because brass melts at about 1650, plus or minus a few degrees. But the steel powder itself, it doesn't really weld unless you're at probably like around 2000 degrees. So because of that, I don't know if when I heated it up too much, I kind of get rid of the brass in the pattern. That's why the pattern wasn't really looking very well. But I also wasn't able to weld together properly. And my initial forge welds were also at a lower temperature because I didn't want to accidentally melt the brass out. Regardless, either one of those two processes made it incredibly brittle. And so I managed to get a couple pieces that I thought might be promising. That's why I didn't use the majority of what I had. And I wanted to test out to see if it would grab on or not, and it didn't. It just broke apart. So definitely a dud there. But even though I don't think I can actually make this work with the powder because of those temperature differences, you can kind of get away with it with the copper, because the melting point of copper is about 1970-ish. 1975, and at that temperature you can weld the steel powder more properly. So that's why we can do what we did with the other copper sponges. But these guys, is just the melting point is too low, and the stuff is just too thin. I was hoping we could get a really cool pattern out of it, but it is what it is. So moving forward, we're just gonna trash this, and I am gonna make it up for you guys, and I'm gonna try in a near future video. Can't really say when. I gotta get the materials in. I'm trying to do a Damascus like I did with the copper, where I'm doing copper and steel in the inner layers. Like I said, I was switching out the copper for the 15 and 20. I'm going to do the same, but with this brass, and we're going to see if that works. So that's going to be our next experiment with brass. But if that works, that would be very cool. And because we're using just brass and not steel powder, we're going to use solid steel, and the brass is pretty much going to braze it all together. It should, in theory, work out, and we should get a really cool looking brass interlayered with the 1084 in this case. So stay tuned for that video. Look forward to it. But other than that, guys, be sure to check out my website. I got a bunch of cool knives on there for you guys to check out. If you want to help support the channel in a monetary fashion, that's the way to do it. If not, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.